Guys, are you able to
Yes.
hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay, great. Right. So we were waiting for others to join. Uh, we have waited enough. It's already 5 minutes. So let's get started. In last session or in complete last segment, whatever we have completed related to compute, I hope you guys have practiced. Under that, we covered one more topic, which was backup and restore. It's not only backup, we also checked restore. There are several methods of restore. We have covered them. We have seen the practical for all of them. Right. So I hope you guys have no problem with that or no questions on that. If you have any questions, do let me know because today we are going to start a new segment, networking segment, and then I do not want it's a I do not want questions from compute segment in network segment that will confuse others also and that will confuse you also. So before you start, if you have any questions before we start with network segment, if you have any doubts, any questions, please do let me know now. Anyone practice? I saw Heather was practicing. I saw some messages. Someone has messaged me personally also. So I know few of you were practicing, though I would say not all of you. In fact, many of you are not practicing, but I'm assuming that you guys went through the video, read the theory part at least. So based on that, do you have any doubts, any questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no. If you guys do not have any questions, then we'll start with our new segment, which is network segment of Azure. Very crucial segment, backbone of Azure. Without network, you will not understand many things which we are going to do in storage, migration, replication. Also, with compute segment, which we have done, I left many options as blank and default. I told you that this you will understand only once you have the understanding of network, right? So there is no segment in Azure which doesn't have dependency on network, right? So network is very crucial part. It is essential. You can't say कि ठीक है आता है तो चल जाएगा नहीं भी आता. For example, storage. Uh, I can give you a benefit of doubt that I have seen some interviews. I have experienced few interviews with my other students where they have not even asked a single question on storage. If they go on that topic, they will ask some questions, which we are going to cover in storage segment. But there are interviews where they didn't even ask a single question on storage. And if you don't understand storage, right, it is not going to impact your compute understanding. You'll still be able to use your compute services without knowing storage, right? If you don't understand storage, you can still go ahead and do the migration. If you don't understand storage, then also, at least for machines, right? So, but when it comes to network, guys, that's not possible. That is not the case. Network, you'll have to understand if you want to get good idea of compute, if you want to get good idea of storage, if you want to get a good idea on replication and migration and PaaS services, anything and everything in Azure. Without networking, you will not be able to get the thorough understanding. You will not be able to explain it properly. Right? So please be focused. Be vigilant about it. Uh, do ask questions if you don't get the topics. It is a little bit complex compared to virtual machine, but it is not that vast. At least the topics which we are going to cover, which they ask in interview, which you require to clear an interview, which you require to work on day-to-day basis, that is not very vast compared to compute. Otherwise, it is vast, it is complex. Compared to compute, it is small in terms of size or in terms of topics. But complexity, it is more complex compared to compute. Compute was easy, right? Before we go there, before we start Azure network, I'll simply just cover a few topics or few points. I would say overview of a network, right? For which I have also shared some videos, and I have not got confirmation on that from many. Hardly 6 people voted on that they have watched the video. I'm not sure about others. I'm assuming you guys have watched because if you don't have the basics of networking, basic understanding, that you're not going to get or you're not going to understand Azure network, right? Because network is not invention with Azure. It was there from long time, long ago, Azure and cloud and Hyper-V virtualization network was always there, right? Nowadays we have software network, but network was always there. So you should have some basic understanding of network, IP addresses, uh, public IP, private IP, right? All those topics have been covered in those videos. Still, I'm going to just, first session is in these 40 minutes. I thought I'll spend on that, and then from next one, we're going to take the Azure network specifically, right? So understand one thing very important here. It's when we say virtual network or VNet, that is a term we have been using, and that is a term we'll be using. It's VNet, right? VNet stands for virtual network. It is specific term for Azure. You cannot use it with GCP. You cannot use it with AWS. Nowhere. VNet is very specific term of Azure. GCP and AWS, they have VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, VPC. Now the functionality and the purpose of both of these, it, it's exactly same. What a VPC is, exactly a VNet is. So just by reading the name, what do you think a virtual network is? Purposely, I've written AWS's name also because that gives the hint. So what do you think a virtual network is? Yes, guys, anyone? What is a virtual
Private
network?
network Azure.
Yes, it's your private space on cloud, on Azure specifically. Let's say this is your cloud. This is cloud is in complete Azure setup, not yours. Complete Azure, Microsoft Azure. This is Microsoft Azure. It has 66 regions, so many data centers, etc., etc. Okay, this is completely Azure, right? Now, in this one, where in the Azure, when you go ahead and you want to deploy a machine, what is the first requirement? Can you directly go and deploy something on Azure? Can you do that? Just directly on Azure, no user ID, no password, nothing, and directly you want to do it on on Azure. Is it possible? Yes, 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 no, maybe.
No.
No. Then what is the requirement? Very first thing, the moment I go to Azure portal, what should I have? If not, what should I opt for? Yes, guys, basics.
Subscription.
Uh,
I mean, subscription, then I mean, resource group and all.
Resource group subscription. We can again go back and refer to the picture. This is
Mm.
resource group, right? Can I directly create a resource group on Azure portal? Nothing, and just go ahead and create my name's resource group.
First, we need tenant.
You said where is above the resource group, there's a subscription. Okay, fine. Here also. Can I have directly a subscription? Yeah, somebody already answered that. Tenant. Right?
Tenant.
So there has to be a tenant. Now, what is a tenant? Tenant is a virtual space which you are renting on the cloud, right? So if this is your tenant, right, no one else will be able to enter here, right? If some other company is there in the same cloud, they will have their own tenant, right? Under tenant, they can have multiple subscriptions, multiple resource group. It is up to them. But these two tenants, Tsoft's employees, will not be able to speak or see or at least even know that there is something, there's such thing called UT-Kloud. Same here. UT-Kloud will never be able to know there's such thing called Tsoft here. Unless they want to communicate, that's a different thing. We are just discussing the by default states of all. Right, so this is your tenant. This is the segregation. At what level? It is at the identity level they have segregated you. At identity level, they have segregated you. Similarly, on network level, if you want segregation, then it comes to picture your virtual network. But virtual network, it is not only segregating you from different company, but it is segregating your application or your project within the company also. Right? So if you have a virtual network here, this virtual network, and someone else has a virtual network here, right? And one virtual network here, irrespective of subscription, resource group, tenant, anything, right? These two virtual networks, they do not know about each other. I mean, if you have access on subscription level completely, then you are able to see it as a user. Not talking about that. But a machine which is residing here, a machine which is residing here in this virtual network cannot communicate with this virtual network. And they cannot communicate with this virtual network. They cannot communicate with this virtual network. By default, all these four machines will not be able to communicate with each other at all. Right? So this is how your virtual network works. Virtual network का मतलब क्या है? It's a dedicated space for you within your tenant. Okay? Outside tenant obviously है, but within tenant also. Here it is. This is under one tenant UT-Kloud, under one subscription, under one resource group. There are two virtual networks. Still, they cannot talk to each other. Right? इस तरह का आपको एक isolation दिया जाता है. So you do then you have that feasibility or that confidence that though you are sharing same hardware, right? आपने एक virtual machine request की, Tsoft ने एक request की. Ultimately, you don't know maybe your machine and Tsoft's machine, virtual machine, it is sitting on the same hardware. We have done this in thoroughly, so I'm not explaining it again, right? I hope all of you remember the hardware picture and everything which I had shown. So both of them are hosted or sitting on one physical machine. Still, you are relying on Microsoft, you are relying on Azure, that your data is not visible for anyone else. It's not shareable with anyone else unless you want it. That's a different case, right? By using virtual network. Is this point clear, guys? Still here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so this is just basic definition of virtual network. Let's go ahead, go back and start with networking. Very basic things in networking, or I would call very components of networking are IP address. Can anyone tell me how many types of IP address do we have? Yes, guys. What
Two
kind of
type of
IP
IP
address?
address,
Sorry?
public and private.
Okay. Public IP address. Ignore the spelling mistake, guys. And private IP address. How many classes do we have in IP address?
5 classes.
5 year.
Class A, Class B, Class C, D, and E. Mostly we use only Class A, B, and C. Okay. D and E, they are reserved for research and development purposes. So we don't have to worry about it. We'll be focusing on Class A, Class B, and Class C. Okay. Then we have public IP, we have private IP. Similar classes are same for both of them. Class A and Class A, B, C, D, E. पब्लिक आईपी में भी होता है, प्राइवेट आईपी में भी होता है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट थिंग, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ वर्जन्स डू वी हैव? एनीवन नोस? आईपी में कितने वर्जन्स होते हैं?
Two version. IPv6
2 years. Yeah.
यस, आईपी v4 एंड आईपी v6. वी आर स्ट्रिक्टली टॉकिंग अबाउट IPv4. IPv6 हम डिस्कस भी नहीं कर रहे अभी तक. It's been the news is there from a decade that IPv6 is going to replace everything in IPv4, which will happen eventually, but I think that is again going to take one more decade. So we don't have to worry about it, right? We are sticking to IPv4, and we're talking about IPv4. These classes and everything, this belong to IPv4. So we're not discussing anything about IPv6, right? Everything it's about IPv4, which is Internet Protocol version 4. Now it is an IP address. IP address it's of a 32 TB. Sorry, 32 bits, right? 32 bits. Now I'm not going to explain this. These are engineering concepts or what are the bits and I mean I've shared the videos because that is not the topic of our portion of our course, hence I've shared these videos with you guys. Please go ahead and watch them again, and still if you don't understand, ask me, I'll maybe share more videos, right? So it's a 32-bit IP address. IPv4, it's always a 32-bit. There are four optics. I'm not sure if you guys are getting it or not. Let's say blocks. I will call them block. So 10, this is one block. 10, this is second block. 10, this is third block. 10, this is fourth block. You will always see IP address in this format. Number can be changed, but this always be in the this format. You will never have an IP which will look like this or this. Never. Always four optic. This is optic 1, optic 2, optic 3, 4. Always four optic. Right? Numbers and everything will vary from classes, everything. But this is how an IP address will look like. What IP address does? IP address enables you to communicate with other computers, right? With printers in your network, with scanners, with mobile phones in your network, for that matter, any device. Nowadays, your AC, your refrigerators, right, your TV, they are coming with internet equipped. That from using your phone, you can turn on your AC. Using your phone, you can turn off your LED bulb, right? You can turn on your TV. All of this is happening because they have an IP address and your mobile phone, and they are able to communicate. So IP, it's Internet Protocol address. It helps us to communicate with other devices in the same network. Is this part clear, guys? Still here? I'm going very slow and very basic overview. Okay. Now, talking about IPs, remember one thing: IP, public IP cannot talk to or cannot communicate with private IP ever. It will never happen directly. Obviously, I'm talking about the directly, right? Workarounds are there. We are going to see them. What do you mean by this? Okay. Well, now, any feature, any website or anything which is hosted on the internet, it will have a public IP. For example, I'm accessing google.com. At the back end, there is an IP. It will be a public IP, right? Anyone knows the range of IPs, by the way?
I mean, 0 uh,
Hmm.
to 223. Yeah.
And this is a whole range, or what is it? Do we have any
Yeah. I mean,
segregation in
A, B,
that?
C,
What is
D.
it?
Yes, we have. From 0 to 126 is A. Then from 128 to two, think two. Sorry. Yeah, 128 to 191 was B, and then 192 to 223 was C. Yeah.
Okay, let me bring a picture for you. I'm looking for a good picture so I can at least share it with you guys, and it will give you some understanding. Here it is. Okay. Now these are not two different things, guys. These are not two different range. Understand one thing? It is a whole range, and within that whole range, some sort of range has been assigned to private. So the total range of IP will be from 0.0.0.0 till 254.255 255, 255. This can be your first IP address and this can be your last IP address as whole. IPv4 में सब कुछ मिला दो आप तो इतना ये होगा, इतने आईपीज इतना आपको ये सब कुछ मिल सकता है, ठीक है। नाउ क्लास ए का रेंज होता है आपका 0.0.0.0 से लेकर 126, 255, 255, 255. If you see any IP between this is a class A IP address, irrespective public or private. If you see anything, right? So the IP address which I wrote there on the MS Pen, what kind of IP address is this? What class of IP address is this, guys?
Class A.
Yes. What about others? Are you guys getting it? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, class A.
Yes.
So if I write any IP, next IP address here, what class of IP address is this?
Class B.
Yes. Okay. 192, sorry, 0.0.0.0 से लेकर 126, 255, 255, 255. Whatever is there, it is in class A. 127, it is a loop back IP address. Now I'm not going to explain what it is, why do we use it, right? But if someone is asking you a question, do you know anything about loop back IP address? You can simply say yeah, the range is 127. Okay. Hence, you don't see 127 here. Okay. Now, anything which starts with 128, that is class B. Then anything starts with 192, that is class C. Anything starts with 224, it is class D, and then anything starts with 220, 240, it is class E. I told you we are not going to look at class C, sorry, class D and E. They are strictly for research and development purpose. We are going to discuss only class A, B, and C. Now, in this one, 0, 0, 0, 0 to 126, 255, 255, 255. All of these are not public IP address. Within this, there is a range which they have given, which is a private IP address, which is 10.0.0.0 से लेकर 10.255, 255, 255. It is a private IP address. It's a private range. Now let me explain it to you here. For example, this one. Let me increase the font size. Here. So if I'm saying that the range of IP address class A is 0.0.0.0 to 126, 255, 255, 255. So how does it work? What will be the first IP address? First IP address will be 0.0.0.0. Though we don't use it, okay? We are going to get into that. ये zero use नहीं करते हैं, one use नहीं करेंगे, क्यों नहीं करेंगे? That's a different thing. I'm just explaining it, how to read it at least. Okay, this will be my first IP. What will be the next IP? Anyone? What will be the next IP of this range?
00001.
Yes, 0.0.0.1. Similarly, ऐसा जाएगा 2, 3, as in last object I'm talking about. ठीक है, तीन zeros will always be there. Then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Till what number will it go?
255.
Yes. Then the last IP address you're going to see it's 0.0.0.255. Though I'm telling you zero range we'll never use. It's safe for some networking purpose, but just for your understanding. So this is how IP addresses are calculated. Then once this is done, what will be the next IP address if I want to use? What should be the next IP address? Let's say 0.0 0 I hope समझ गया आप लोगों को 1.1.1.0 I started from here and my last IP address was 1.1.1.255. Now I want to add one more machine. What will be the next IP address?
1.1.2.1.
1.1.2.1. सिमिलरली इसका लास्ट वाला जो है 1, इसकी जगह हो जाएगा आपका 2, देन 3, देन 4, इसी तरह चलता रहेगा वो टिल व्हाट टाइम 1.1.2.255. ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ इट विल इंक्रीज. देन ये 2 जो है 3 हो जाएगा, 4 हो जाएगा. कब तक होगा? 1.1.255.255. देन ये वाला एक जो है वो फिर से आगे बढ़ेगा. दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स. सो दिस इज हाउ यू हैव टू रीड इट. ये एक कब तक बढ़ेगा? इफ आई एम सेइंग कि मुझको बस क्लास ए के ही आईपी चाहिए, सो व्हाट विल बी द लास्ट आईपी एड्रेस ऑफ क्लास ए?
255.255.
नो, आई एम स्पेसिफिकली सेइंग क्लास ए का चाहिए मुझको.
10.255.2.
126 dot
नो,
55.2.
10 तो चला गया ना. 10 तो इधर खत्म हो गया ऑलरेडी, कहीं पे हमने यूज कर लिया उसको. लास्ट आईपी एड्रेस.
126.255.
Yes,
126. Yeah.
yes, 126.255.255.255. IPs are not over here. 128 से फिर शुरू होगा, बट आई वॉज स्पेसिफिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट क्लास ए, तो मैं क्लास ए तक ही स्टिक रह रहा हूँ. ये होगा आखिरी आईपी. नाउ हियर ये जो 1 1 है, इफ दिस कीप्स ऑन इंक्रीजिंग, ठीक है, ये 1 वाला हो गया आपका 9.255.255.255, राइट. यहां तक ये चला गया, राइट. once it is there, once it is here, next IP, what will be the next IP, guys? What will be the next IP?
10.0.0.
10.0.0.0, राइट. ये कहां तक जाएगा? 10.1, 10.2, सॉरी 10.0.0.1 2 3 4 5. नाउ द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दिस, ये सारे आईपी जो हम यहां से यहां तक डिस्कस कर रहे हैं एंड इसके बाद भी जो 11 से भी डिस्कस करेंगे, ऑल ऑफ दोज आर पब्लिक आईपी एक्सेप्ट फॉर दिस 10 वाला रेंज. जैसे ही आप 10 के रेंज में आ जाते हो, इट बिकम्स योर प्राइवेट आईपी. सिमिलरली क्लास बी, आई एम सेइंग इट स्टार्ट्स विथ 128. ठीक है, 127 तो मैंने बता दिया आपको, रिजर्व्ड है, लीव इट. 128 से आपका ये शुरू हो रहा है क्लास बी, राइट. सो ये 128 से आपका स्टार्ट होगा, 128 0.0.0, एंड देन वो लास्ट 191 255 पर तक जाएगा. बट बीच में 127 और 191 के बीच में देयर इज अ नंबर विच विल कम. कौन सा? 172. द मोमेंट इट विल कम हियर 172.16, बीच वाला ऑब्जेक्ट भी 16 होना चाहिए. 0.0, दिस बिकम्स योर private IP. And this is not one IP, guys. So I hope you are getting it. It is a range. तो ये रेंज है 10.0.0.0 से लेके 10.255. मतलब कितना होगा ये? बहुत सारे आईपीज मिलने वाले हैं आपको. ये भी 1 से लेके 255 तक जाएगा, देन ये 1 होगा, देन ये 255 तक जाएगा, राइट. सी इफ आई एक्सप्लेन इट टू यू, 10.0.0.0, इसका नेक्स्ट आईपी होगा 1, नेक्स्ट आईपी होगा 2, 3, 4, 5. सिमिलरली ये 255 तक जाएगा. देन विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम हियर 1 2 3, राइट. एंड यहाँ पर भी ये ऑब्वियसली चेंज हो रहा है. जैसे ही ये 1 हो जाता है, दिस विल अगेन 1 1.1, देन 1.2 1.3 1.4, ये हो जाएगा 1.255 तक. अगेन वी डू नॉट लिटरली यूज 255, दोज आर अगेन रिजर्व्ड आईपीज. वो सब हम बाद में करेंगे, जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड द लॉजिक. ओके, 255 तक चला गया, देन ये हो जाएगा 2, 2.1, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. इस तरह से जब तक ये 255, ये 255 हो जाएगा, देन यू विल हैव दिस वन 1. 1 के बाद ये फिर से 1.10.1.1.1, So are you imagining that how many IPs do you get? So till the time this goes like this, ये हो जाता है पूरा, ये हो जाता है पूरा. Now what will be the next IP? Yes, yes. What will be the next IP?
11,000.
11 dot. Fine. Now, can this IP 11.0.0.0, or I'll take one, 11.0.0.1, communicate with this IP? These two. Just इसको खत्म करके हमने ये शुरू किया है. Can they communicate with each other?
No.
And why not? Both are in same class. Both are in class A. Why can't they communicate with each other?
Public IP cannot communicate
Yes.
with private IP.
Perfect. Got it, guys? Similarly, class B में आपका 190 to 128 से शुरू हो रहा है, but there is a specific range जो प्राइवेट के लिए असाइन की गई है. Right? So these two IPs cannot communicate with each other by default. Is that point clear to everyone? I'm going
Yes.
to share this picture with all of you, so it will give you a better idea. Now, the mobile phones, which, by the way, why do we have this? Why do we have this segregation? Why do we have it? Because public IP, once I use it anywhere, I cannot repeat it. It is only usable one at a time. For example, google.com, right? If I go here and check google.com, I'm typing google.com, but ultimately what is happening in background? This google.com, it's resolving some IP address, right? किसी ना किसी IP address पे जाकर hit कर रहा है वो. So Google has used one public IP. If I ping here, okay, though it's IPv6 we are getting. This is Google's IP version 6. Let me see. So when I type google.com, these are the IPs which Google has secured for themselves. And there are n number of IPs, okay? 8.8.8, 8.8.4.4 और बहुत सारी public IPs इन्होंने रख ली है. Similarly, Yahoo will have, YouTube will have, or for example, if I have my own website, I want a public IP. So I have, you guys can see the name, but behind this name, there is a public IP, right? Behind this name, there's a public IP. Behind this name, there's a public IP. So there are so many requests that all of these public IPs will not be sufficient. Hence, what they have done, now imagine that you are using all these public IPs for these websites, etc. And same IPs you're using on your personal computer also, right? It won't take a month where your IPs will be finished and then whole system will be collapsed. So what they have done, they have segregated this to private IP and public IP. Public IP, whatever is there, it cannot be reused. Reused is in s- uh, at, at two places at the same time. I mean, I can't have 1.1.1.1 and you cannot have that at the same time. But when it comes to private IP, I can have my own network. वहां पर मैं 10.10.10.10 के मशीन बना सकता हूँ. 10.10.10, 10.10.11, 12, 13, and you can do the same thing in your Azure portal or maybe in your virtual environment, maybe in your house. I don't know what are you doing. And you don't know what am I doing. It's in private network. So it gives you the feasibility to reuse the IP address. And by doing this, now we are saving too many IPs. So the system can work. Is this point clear, guys, to everyone? Why do we have private and public IPs? Yes, no, maybe. Guys, quickly, we have only 30 seconds left in
Yes.
this session. Okay, let me close the session. We'll rejoin without any break and we'll continue with this. We have only 30 seconds left. Please rejoin using the same link without any break.